Donald Trump's White House press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, is either unwilling or unable to stop lying day after day after day. She, of course, claims that Christianity is the highest of all values for her. And of course, lying uncontrollably is not a Christian value I've been able to find in any of their sacred texts. Here is Karoline Leavitt defending the deportation of a man from Maryland with protected legal status, which ICE has already acknowledged was a mistake. Here is how Karoline Leavitt chooses to deal with that.
Just changing subjects for 1 second. The administration has expressed a complete confidence in how all the deportation flights to El Salvador were conducted. But now that the administration has conceded that there was an error of one Salvadoran national, will there be any reviews conducted? And does the president express any thoughts on the one error that was disclosed in court last night?
Well, first of all, the error that you are referring to was a clerical error. It was an administrative error. The administration maintains the position that this individual who was deported to El Salvador and will not be returning to our country was a member of the brutal and vicious MS-13 gang. That is fact number one. Fact number two, we also have credible intelligence proving that this individual was involved in human trafficking. And fact number three, this individual was a member, actually a leader of the brutal MS-13 gang, which this president has designated as a foreign terrorist organization. Fact number four is that foreign terrorists do not have legal protections in the United States of America anymore, and it is within the president's executive authority and power to deport these heinous individuals from American communities. It is a promise he campaigned on. It is a promise he is keeping, and every single person in this room should be grateful for that, considering especially MS-13 is very prevalent and prominent here in the District of Columbia, in Maryland, and in Virginia. And the president, the attorney general, everyone who has been involved in these operations is focused on eradicating these criminals and terrorists from our communities.
That is completely out of control, diarrhea of the mouth propaganda. This is not a clerical error. It's systemic. Trump claims he's deporting criminals, but clearly they're profiling people. So she can say, even though fine, you have to read between the lines. Fine, she can't rebut that this is not a criminal, because criminal, at least for now, still has a definition. But she goes, but we maintain that he was a member of a gang, even though he hadn't necessarily committed crimes. What we are talking about here is the deportation of someone legally here on asylum. And one of the things that keeps coming up is sort of like a trial by media as to whether any individual is sympathetic. This person was sick, or they have a kid who was sick, or it's a dad, or it actually does not matter. That doesn't matter legally. Now, she was asked for evidence, and here's what she had to say.
Our communities.
The vice president said he was a convicted member of MS-13. What evidence is there to back that up?
There's a lot of evidence, and the Department of Homeland Security and ICE have that evidence, and I saw it this morning.
She saw it with her own eyes. Of course, evidence that someone was convicted should be pretty easy to provide, and they provided none of it whatsoever. She then is asked again, wait a second, you're saying you saw evidence of that. What are you talking about?
A few questions about this deportation case. First, I wanted to clarify something that you said to Jeff a few minutes ago. You said you'd seen evidence that this man was a convicted gang member. In what court was he convicted, and for what?
This individual was an MS-13 ringleader. This individual was also engaged in human trafficking. And I'm glad you brought up this point again, because I would like to point out that if you just saw the headline from the insane, failing Atlantic magazine this morning, you would think this individual was Father of the Year, living in Maryland, living a peaceful life, when that couldn't be further from the truth.
She can't say that there's any evidence in a court because this man wasn't convicted of anything. Either we respect the law or we don't. And the bottom line is that if someone is physically in the United States, in the asylum process, they have due process rights. It's not a loophole. It's not a trick. It's not some Marxist communist subversion of law and order. It's law and order. The government doesn't get to just grab people and deport them because it wants to. Karoline Leavitt seeing something at an ICE office isn't proof. It's not a conviction. You must go through a legal process. A judge has to hear the case. The person has a right to defend themselves. That's what due process means. Now, I know they don't like it, and they want to talk about how sympathetic, to pretend this was just some suburban dad. It actually doesn't matter. Yes, we can talk about the personal stories, and they are tragic, but legally speaking, it doesn't make a difference. All right, they got to some other stuff during this live fest about, here's one about tariffs, and Leavitt seems confused as to what's being quoted was said publicly by Trump or not. She is the worst press secretary I can remember.
Yes, it is.
Caroline, the president has said foreign countries and companies will eat the cost of tariffs. In his speech on Inauguration Day, he said, quote, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens.
Right.
So then why did he have to tell the domestic automakers not to raise prices?
Well, that was a private conversation that was had. I'm not sure if that comment was made or was not made. But as for what the president said in his Inauguration Day speech, he's absolutely correct. A tariff will be a tax on these foreign nations, these foreign companies. And if they want to be absolved of that tariff, then they can come here to the United States of America to do business, bring their jobs here.
Now, of course, the tariffs are a tax on the American importers, which is yet another lie. But I actually don't know whether what you're saying Trump said was in private or in public. I just don't know. So let me just talk about this completely different thing. You can't get away from basic economics. And basic economics is that a tariff is an import tax. Now, you could say there's a good reason for it. It's strategic. There is a long-term path as to how this tariff is going to help us. Trump's not able to do that because these blanket tariffs wouldn't be helpful long-term. It's short-term pain for then medium-term pain for then long-term pain. That's all it is. And of course, her knowledge of economics is very lacking, and that's why we end up in these situations. Now, finally, you might recall that yesterday I played a clip of Karoline explaining that the investigation into the Signal fiasco has been concluded. We've investigated ourselves and found no wrongdoing. Good for them. Here she was asked, can you share any of the findings? And she basically just says, no, I can't.
You said case closed yesterday. As that case was closed, do you have anything that you can share about what was learned, how this can be avoided in the future, any sort of findings from that investigation?
The case is closed, and the president continues to have confidence in his national security advisor.
There you go. Can't you understand, reporters, that when they say the case is closed, it means they've cleared themselves. They've absolved themselves of any wrongdoing. If the real question is, has anything actually been fixed? The answer is, of course, no, it hasn't. Is this the most dishonest and propagandistic press secretary you can remember? I covered Kayleigh McEnany, and I think Karoline Leavitt is way worse. After researching, writing, refining, The Echo Machine, my book, is finally out. This is not just a book about how American politics got so broken. It's also about what's happening right now and what we can still do to stop things from getting worse. Trump's been back in power. The results have been even more catastrophic than many feared, with targeting of political opponents and gutting democratic institutions, laying the groundwork to even further consolidate power. But the thing is that none of this is inevitable. The same forces that brought us here can be countered if we understand how they work and what to do about them. And that's what the Echo Machine is all about. Some say that without corporate media backing, books like this can't succeed. I think we can prove them wrong. You can get the Echo Machine right now at davidpakman.com/echo on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Audible, Kindle, or by calling any local bookstore and asking them to order it. This book is more important than ever. If you care about what happens next, and I do, check out the Echo Machine today at davidpakman.com/echo.